I notice a silent tax that many experts are paying right now, and they don't even realize it. It's not coming from a lack of talent. It's not from the ever-changing social algorithms, and actually, it's not even the economy. It's the cost of not fully owning your expertise. Because when you're good at something, but you're not claiming it and you're hesitating to claim not just the value, but clearly showcase your offers, communicate your message, and confidently show up, it creates a very expensive gap. And it's called people don't enroll in your program. Today, I'll talk about that gap and how to close it. You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 489, and we're talking about the hidden cost of not owning your expertise. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, Authority Amplifier. And today we're talking about the silent cost, the hidden cost, if you will, of not owning your expertise in the marketplace. See, I'm watching a lot of people talk about like the economy's down and things that used to work aren't working anymore. And these things are true. And there are people who are making a killing right now. There are experts, coaches, consultants, trainers who, they might have felt a little dip, but they're not struggling or suffering. And so what is it that they're doing differently? They've owned it. They're claiming it. They're broadcasting it. And they're obsessed with it. So let's talk about what might be causing this gap in your business. Now, when I do a diagnostic, I call it the Visibility to Profits diagnostic. One of the things we're looking at is your positioning. And what I notice is if people don't immediately understand four key things. One, who you help. Two, what problem you solve. Three, why you're unique or why what you do is going to solve a problem differently than someone else they might be considering, and why it matters to solve it now, they're going to move on. Brilliant experts, coaches, consultants, trainers, service professionals of all kinds, they're often overcomplicating the communication of the value of what they do because they know so much. And so they're trying to share it all. They're trying to make sure everybody knows all the things they can do. And what happens is that becomes vague. It becomes too broad. It like gets genericized. I like to think of it as like you kind of blend in because you're not speaking to anyone about anything specific. When we look at the marketing process, generic experts are often overlooked because people can't hook on to the one thing that they know you do. They don't get what your specific differentiator is. And so in this kind of marketplace, it's very easy for people to disconnect. Now, you can go back and you can listen to my episodes on the 4 ways you can differentiate yourself by being more specific. And even if you're like, oh my gosh, Melanie, really, like if somebody else tells me to get more specialized, I'm going to commit Harry Carey or whatever, right? But the truth is, people need something specific to know about you. They need to recognize what your expertise is. And if you are not claiming that, if you are not owning that, whatever that is, and that could be the people you work with, it can be the unique thing that you bring to the table, it could be something about your brand or your energy or your charisma, your personality, your approach. It could be any of that, right? But without it, you blend in. Clarity and conciseness creates intrigue and demand. When your communication and your message has so many things going on. Confusion creates hesitation. I'll give you an example. There's somebody that I've been evaluating, very intrigued by a lot of the stuff she does. But as I dug in more, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of confusing messaging. There's a lot of different moving parts. There's a lot of like every couple weeks there's something unique and different that they're putting out. And I got really confused. And I started to hesitate on moving forward because what I really wanted was this one unique thing that they had put out. Confusion creates hesitation. So another way people are creating confusion is they're not really claiming clarity of messaging. I call it the lighthouse message. So if someone says, I help women live their best life, or I help overworked moms find joy again, that's nice, but it's not creating that energy of demand. Okay. And so compare that to something like, I help successful women leaders break free from burnout and redesign a business that gives them freedom. Or I help overworked moms who are ready to pull their hair out connect to a simple 5-minute process that makes them feel joy and peace. Different understanding of the transformation. This is really hard to do in your own head. But if you're not owning your magic, your superpower, your energy, it's very hard to articulate it and create demand with your message. And your message, in a lot of cases, is what's the first line of connection for someone who's getting to know your work. Let's talk about the second thing, the second place that if you don't own your value, it can completely derail you, and that's undercharging. And I'm going to admit something here. I recently just called myself out on a place where I was undercharging. And I was like, oh, I just fell into this trap. And it's very easy to do because when you look at the market, when you look at what people are willing to pay for, when you look at external factors as evidence of what you should charge, it's very easy to fall into an underpricing trap. So many experts base their pricing on how many hours they're working or what their competitors are charging, using the lens of fear of like, well, I don't want to have my offer fail, so I'm going to come under the radar in my financial offer, needing people to say yes. I recently watched a colleague of mine who has been a high ticket sales for like 10 years. And I watched her put out an offer that was so low. It was like something like a couple $100. And I noticed what my reaction was, why would she do that? Now, I have a suspicion that she's trying to move some energy, but in my experience of it, it got devalued. Instead of pricing based on transformation, she was pricing on an experience of scarcity. So when you are thinking about pricing, I want you to ask yourself, if I wasn't letting fear of rejection or fear of my offer failing or fear of needing people to say yes and worried if they would you be charging what you're charging right now? If you were pricing based on the transformation that was possible, your years of expertise and learning and education and training and investments you've made, if you were pricing based on the speed of potential results or even just the emotional cost or the opportunity cost of staying where your clients are now, what would you be charging? See, when you undercharge, there's something very insidious that occurs. First of all, clients feel it. And sometimes this leads to the wrong clients saying yes, or clients that don't fully commit. Sometimes it is you start to resent delivering it, or there's a part of you that kind of starts holding back from delivering the highest level of value. your growth starts to become exhausting because you're putting so much time and energy into things that aren't moving the revenue needle. You hit income plateaus way too early. So undercharging has a huge cost for you, not just right now, but over the long term, because then it's very difficult to unravel yourself from an undercharging pattern. When you discount your value and you don't own the full value of your work in the world, the market starts to follow that energetic frequency too. Now, wait, if you're saying, Melanie, but my offers aren't selling, that's a different problem. Because if you've owned your value and you have fully worked your process on your offer development and you have your profit path in place and you have all the things that we talk about in Authority Accelerator and help you nail down, your offer should be selling. But if it's not, that means you have a gap between the value and the way you're positioning, packaging, or presenting it. Let's go into the third one. If you're not obsessed with your offer, no one else will be. This one is so huge. And I've found myself here. I've talked to many of my colleagues lately about this thing that we unconsciously do where maybe we pull back a little bit because we're going through a change or we're making some shifts in the way the offer works. And so we pull back because there's a part of us that either isn't clear or we know we're making some changes. And then all of a sudden, that gap gets really long and wide. And people aren't buying. And you're like, what happened? Oh, yeah, I stopped being obsessed with my offer. I stopped, shouting it from the rooftops. And when you put something out and you don't own it and you're not obsessed with it, you're hiding it, right? Like you start to hide it. And so this can happen when you get talked into an offer that you're not fully energetically congruent with. I see this a lot. I have a lot of clients who come to me having worked with another coach or mentor who meant well, but contorted them, changed them. I had a woman who was a grief specialist have a coach tell her that she should be a business coach. Like, what? When you are not obsessed, what happens is you tread lightly. You peek out from behind the curtain and softly mention your work, right? Maybe you kind of soft pedal, you softly offer it instead of claiming that value and making sure people get how obsessed you are. Because when you're obsessed with your offer and you fully believe in it, that energy has major magnetism. I've seen people apologize and be shy from selling instead of like, I own this, like this is my thing I do and it's magic, it's power. I fully believe in it. They're hemming and hawing at the edges of, well, I don't know, like I don't want to come across like I'm being too salesy. Sell your thing. And here's a big one, you're promoting inconsistently. If you don't have a promotion strategy, I call it a sales trigger and a campaign. Everybody needs to have a way to move interest into being invested. And if you think people meet you once and they're going to buy, that's rare. Okay, it does happen. And there are techniques to do that. But more often than not, people are going to take some time to build trust with you. They want to get to know, are you the real deal? Why? Because deep down inside, they don't know if they can count on you or they can count on themselves to make the best decision. But when you're obsessed, when you have that fire and that energy and you're fully like, oh my God, this is the best thing that you could invest in, that energy is contagious. And that can only happen if deep down inside, you're fully sold on the power of your offer and the power of the work you do in this planet. If you're not energized by the transformation your program creates, why is anyone else going to buy it? You need to be obsessed with it. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Do I believe this offer can change people's lives for the better? Would I enthusiastically recommend it to someone I love? And here's the key. Am I visible enough with clarity and magnetism so that people get why me and why me now? Your offer needs your conviction before it can create conversions. Look, I get hiding out when there's uncertainty, when you're working out the bugs, when you don't know how it's all supposed to fit together. I totally get it. I have been there. And I also know what happens when you're all in on your offer. It is not about the market. It is not about the economy. It is not about the confusion. It is not about our coaching industry having a trust deficit. Those things can be true. And it should not be affecting your sales if you have conviction and a compelling energy that people get they need to do your work. They don't even have to know exactly what it is to feel your energy. And that energy can only come if you're obsessed. So look, if you know that you have outgrown playing it safe and you're done hiding, you're done playing it safe in the small little safety net that you've built for yourself out of uncertainty, if your expertise deserves better positioning, if your offer should be attracting premium clients consistently, but it's not, then it's time to close the authority gap. You need to get clear on what's not working, where you're holding back. And, if this is speaking to you, you probably have something that's out of sync with your offer, your superpower, and what's energetically congruent. And we need to close that gap so that you can make good money, so that you can help people create transformation. And that's exactly what I do inside the Authority Accelerator. My Authority Accelerator is a training that I have been doing for several years now, close to 8 years. And we help experts become recognized authorities with a magnetic message. I call it your lighthouse message, with the positioning that separates you from everyone else that sounds similar, and premium offers that are not just aligned with what your clients are looking for, but aligned with you and your high vibe, high alignment energy. And it has a strategic visibility strategy that generates real results. And it's because you're confident, you're clear, and your conviction is the energy that pulls people in. So if this is speaking to you, it's probably time to apply for the Authority Accelerator. We have a couple spots open. And if you go to melaniebenson.com/Authority Accelerator, you can submit an application. We will have a meeting, have a chat, talk it through, make sure it's aligned. But I want you to think of one thing. You've been waiting, you've been figuring it out. Maybe you've tried some other coaches and it didn't work. But I want you to ask yourself, what is the cost of waiting? Can you afford to stay there? It's probably higher than you think. Don't keep paying the hidden tax. Own your authority. And sometimes the work you have to do around this is recalibrating the identity and the energetic container that you're holding this offer in. So stop letting that disconnect take over your ability to impact the clients who need you the most. Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.